You're back. What news do you bring?
What have you done? Varric.
This blood is on your hands, Victor. I hope you remember this. I have not overlooked your involvement in this.
No, it was Varric's choice. He knew the consequences.
You were his father. You were supposed to protect him. You think you are doing what is right out of some blind dedication, but you are destroying this house. You already lost one child. You had to murder the other.
Victoria!
I will not hear any more of this. It is done. Leave us.
Oh, I am leaving to mourn my nephew whose memory you disgrace with your very presence.
Victoria!
Leave her be, Luther. The Great Serpent will guide her. She will understand in time and emerge stronger for it. She will. She has duties to perform. Ultimately, I care nothing for what you think. Now, only one matter remains to discuss. Did you find anyone who aided my son in his treachery? Good. Unfortunately, I have heard ramblings among the people of Varric's disappearance. Wardens are dealing with the matter as we speak. But you restored order to this house, and have my gratitude. Here, the access code that Ekris needs to connect to the power grid. Now go. I have much to arrange.
Victor may not realize it now, but he will regret losing his son. I mostly looked after the House members, trying to take a more active role in the lives of our people. Victor's attention is more administrative-focused, so he has little time to deal with personal grievances or requests. Since the destruction, I did all I could to help ease our family's grief. But once Varric left, I turned my focus completely to Victor. I remember the light and a horrible sound. But most of all, I remember Victor's face when he rushed outside to find us. He kept saying it was gone. Disappeared. I'll never forget the moment he took us into the halls of obedience to see the devastation that surrounded the scaled citadel. The heartbreak and horror we felt knowing whatever took Dazra took our house and family with it.
Go. We have kept Ekris waiting long enough. The Ministry of State maintains the very society of Dazra. We enforce the common goals, that our lives are dedicated to House Va'ruun and the Great Serpent. In order for everyone to contribute, we do not allow for the distractions of disillusion and heresy. House Vathal will thrive for centuries to come. I will see to it. There are many of noble blood far more worthy than my own son who would gladly take on the mantle. I was at the Hall of Obedience, discussing matters that do not concern you when I first saw it. A strange light emanating from the scale citadel. It was but a moment later, and light filled the entire room, followed by an indescribable sound, and then silence.
Glad we got that whole Varric business sorted. Whole thing was starting to be a real pain in the ass. Anyway, seeing as I don't have a ship, I'm kind of out of a job. So I was thinking, if you're looking for an extra hand, I got two. They both work well enough, I mean, for my age anyway. But fair warning, I can't do all that moving around and trying new things, stuff that the kids do. Because fact is, I'm retired. Not from work, but life. Nope. It just means when there's a bench, I park my butt on it. If there's meat on the menu, I'm ordering it. Simple as that. Well, I got arthritis, and they shake from time to time. A lot of pain from years of lifting stuff, moving crates, that sort of thing. Buddy of mine said I got 2 left feet. What he forgot to mention is that they're attached to my wrists. Then we're on the same page. Good. Oh, and one other thing. I've got a reputation. You ask anyone about Tain Salaver, and they'll tell you he's old and lazy and useless with a gun. And I'm here to tell you that's only half true. I am old and lazy, but I'm okay with the gun. Because we know all the shortcuts, and we don't start fights we can't win. And yeah, I've killed people. I don't go around bragging about it, though. Is that sarcasm? Nah, I can't tell. I mean, yeah, I don't move much, but I can if I have to. Depends on what's chasing me. Well, even before I lost my ship, I've been looking to branch out. Being a smuggler's fine, but there's not a whole lot of job security. Maybe this is a bad read on my part, but being on your crew seems like a steadier paycheck. Well, the pay scales up with the risk, and at some point it's just too much of one to make the other worthwhile. Besides money, there's 2 things I look for in a job: excitement and complexity. I want neither. Give me boring and stupid and make it pay well? That's the dream. Good. I like your hiring style. No interview or background check. That's all bullshit anyway, in case you didn't know. Better you just point me to my station so we can get on with it. Guess I'll be heading out. See you later, Captain.
Get a hold of yourself, Samira. You'll be fine. See you around. Credit's running low. Ugh, what am I going to do? I lost my job at the Cultural Center. Or more accurately, the Cultural Center is lost. It does not even exist anymore. My livelihood is gone. My credits are dwindling, and I do not know what is going to happen to me. The uncertainty is driving me mad. How can anyone even begin to make sense of it all? Hundreds of people gone in an instant, along with most of the city. It is like something out of a nightmare. I feel guilty, to tell the truth. I was supposed to work on the day the cultural center disappeared. I was sick, and my coworker covered for me. And now... they are gone forever. I just cannot stop thinking, why? Why did this have to happen to us? Sometimes I wish I became a herald. Their faith can see them through anything comfortably. Inaza, for instance, seems to be unbreakable. Perhaps I must meditate and trust the Great Serpent's designs more. It was wonderful while it lasted. The job was stable, good pay, and enjoyable. I always looked forward to the yearly trip the school children would make to the cultural center. I was one of the managers, so I was in charge of cataloging artifacts and creating displays. Most of the center was dedicated to Jinan Varun and the Serpent's Crusade. I do not necessarily agree with some of the content that was on display, but regardless, it is a shame that so much history is now lost to time. This used to be the neighborhood where most of us common folk lived. Not much of a neighborhood any longer, seeing as there are only a few houses left. That being said, almost all of the noble housing that was closer to the scaled citadel is gone as well. The vortex has spared no one.
And what about this talk of missing supplies? I would think the conversation starts there.
I apologize, but with the cataclysm, the investigation has been slow going.
How convenient.
You're putting the growth before the horns! The issue is not the supplies, it's the workforce! This may sound radical, but if we could reunite with some of the exiles from House Malene...
Careful, Envoy. It means nothing if those who lend a hand are holding a knife.
Not to mention, they're completely sloughing mad. What? Too soon? It's only been about 50 years.
For now, let me see what I can find out regarding the missing supplies. It's possible they were lost in the tragedy along with everything else, but I don't know for sure. Once that is sorted, we can revisit this debate.
Of course.
Have you met Varric, Victor's son? The apple fell from the tree and rolled down a hill with that one. Well, I was in Jinan Plaza and had a full view of the whole thing. It was spectacular. A wave of energy sweeping over the city, eating everything in its path. The destruction alone was impressive. But what I'll always remember is the noise. The vortex itself moved swiftly, darkly. But the sound of it was a slow hum. Deliberate. I can't explain it any other way. Like thunder rolling after the lightning. The power of the great serpent. Unleashed. I am a member of House Vithal, stationed at the keep. Our job, to make sure everyone is working and committed to the cause. If someone has a crisis of faith, we simply remind them the importance of their role. As the saying goes, all must serve. Well, the keep is where the army of Hasvaroon has been traditionally armed and trained. To fight and conquer will always be a part of our culture. Even in peacetime, the serpent is coiled and ready to strike. Yes, you might say that. But I like a challenge. Sometimes tragedy is an opportunity to advance. Especially if the vortex swallows a direct superior or two. Oh, the usual politics. Everyone has an opinion, nobody has a consensus. It's exhausting. The only thing the houses have ever been good at is pointing fingers. Mine's coiled and ready. Is yours?
If you have business with House Kadik, speak to Razma. I was at the spaceport, attending to business. I only witnessed the crest of the vortex emanating from the scaled citadel. It lasted only a moment. A flash in the sky. It was only the hours afterward that we understood the consequences of that moment. Oh, I assure you it was 100% personal. Davina and I have history. She blames me for derailing her political ambitions. Without getting too caught in the seaweed, a long time ago, I received some bad intel from a source on a zealot hideout. Davina used that intel to launch an attack, and ended up taking out a camp of civilians. The incident was high profile, and the fault was attributed mostly to her. She's never forgiven me for it. And I fail to see why. It's petty and unprofessional for someone of her position. With regards to politics, these days I'm mostly an advisor. I focus on high-level concepts and strategies as opposed to the day-to-day operations. I let my ward Okeem handle all of that. He sends me proposals, I weigh in, and give my approval. I've even made him captain of my ship, the Cortege. I joke that I'm mostly a glorified rubber stamp. But my days working the field are over. So you overheard us. Well then, let me answer your question with a question. Do you think the cycle of violence can be broken? Or are some conflicts absolute? You may be right. But what if the origin of the conflict itself no longer exists? I would argue neither side has a reason to continue such a pointless fight. Let's just say recent events have reminded me of an old parable about a father and two sons. The eldest son was dutiful, the youngest disobedient. But the father loved both equally, and the eldest resented this. One day, the youngest falls into a pit of quicksand. The eldest, filled with bitterness and anger, ponders, leaving him to die. The parable ends here, leaving the reader to contemplate the end. But I imagine that only by working together can a family prosper. And the alternative brings us both to ruin. I concur, and the infighting serves only to weaken House Faroon and Tazra. In my argument back there, I advocated for more workers, even if it meant reaching out to our enemies. And yes, I understand the reluctance with House Malin. Their crimes go beyond forgiveness. But I'm also not campaigning to conscript their soldiers. We need workers, healers, and engineers. People who can help rebuild Tazra, not tear it down. I'm surprised such a question can be asked with the city in such disarray. The problems are obvious, and yet those in power continue to emphasize patience and measured responses. Now is not the time for red tape. The more caution we exercise, the more people will suffer. They are the ones commonly known as zealots, fanatics who believe peace should never have been made with the settled systems. But to assume any group is a monolith is absurd. Reconciliation with the hardliners should be off the table, but we can find members within who are willing to abandon the Serpent's crusade.
First the Cataclysm, now this. There's too much going on right now. The accident has strained our supply chain on a number of fronts. Envoy Kadik argues it's a problem of manpower. Warden Bethol says it's a problem of resources. I had hoped we would have solved the supply issue by now, but there's been a complication. And yet we still try to get it done, in the little window we are given. I'm sorry if I seem a bit flustered. Things have been chaotic since the Cataclysm, and now word of missing supplies. But that doesn't excuse my rudeness. Let me at least introduce myself. My name is Kezrani Dulkev. I work as an executor for House Dulkev. Likewise. And I'm well aware of who you are. Word of the first convert in generations is on everyone's lips these days. But I'm sure you are busy getting adjusted to life here. Is there anything I can help you with? In that case, maybe you can help. It's about the supply shortage. There may be a reason for it beyond the Cataclysm itself. A week ago, my cousin Ukaru came to my office concerned about a series of lost shipments. He was certain someone was using the tragedy as cover to steal supplies and route them to our enemies. I'm not sure. The message was vague, and there are many who would want to do us harm. Agreed. It is difficult to believe, and as such, the proof must be ironclad. So I told my cousin to return with more evidence, and when I didn't hear back, I assumed that was the end of it. But this morning, I received a slate from a courier. It was from Ukaru. It was worrying, to say the least. It felt like Ukaru was trying to warn me. The contents were cryptic. He mentions a possible conspiracy and being followed and, well, I hate to say it, but I'm starting to panic. He hasn't shown up to work in days, and the timing of all this feels suspicious.
I don't know, he sounds unhinged. Are we sure this guy isn't just holed up in his apartment reading about aliens and bat people?
Ukaru was not that kind of man. He was grounded, reserved. This is highly unusual behavior for him. But if he is in danger, I don't know if it's safe for me to investigate. I need someone disconnected from the noble houses. Vital supplies for the city, which given the cataclysm is a wide breadth of things. Construction materials, medical kits, food. The loss of all this is a great cause for concern, given the state of the city. I'm not sure that's wise, given Ukaru's warnings. If what he says is true, a watchful eye is being kept on House Dulkef. They may blame him or me for the supplies going missing. And if I investigate this, I could be accused of wiping records or tampering with evidence. An independent investigator, unaffiliated with the houses, is what we need here. The slate Ukaru sent via courier is light on details, but he did say that one of the noble houses may be involved, which, if true, would emphasize the need for discretion and an outside party. Ukaru's workstation is likely your best bet. He's been working in the rehabilitation unit on the 3rd floor of the Halls of Healing. If you run into any issues with access, hand this slate to my fellow executors. Once you locate him, report back to me. I've got a meeting at House Kadik later, but I shouldn't be hard to track down. Hopefully you'll find my cousin alive and safe.
Thank you for stopping to talk to me. My name is Lijana Dulkev. Normally, I would ask how I can help you, but under the circumstances, I'm the one who needs help. I oversee the delivery of goods to those living outside the city. Unfortunately, I lost one of my couriers to the recent catastrophe. I have sought a replacement, but extra hands are in desperately short supply. No, of course not. You're new here. But please, I beg you, hear what I have to say. I wouldn't normally seek help from someone I don't know. However, I am not above admitting my situation. The truth is, this is about more than just a business transaction. It is very important to me that someone makes these deliveries as soon as possible. The truth is, I am new to this position. When I assumed these duties, it was impressed upon me that I would carry a great burden. The Ministry has never failed to make a timely delivery. Our reputation in this regard is flawless. That reputation and my position are both now in jeopardy. The delay has been too long already. If the situation is not resolved soon, the people will begin to lose faith in us. I cannot allow that. It is my duty to uphold our high standards. Time is wasting, so I will get to the point. I would like you to be my new courier. Our deliveries are paid upon arrival. You can keep the payments for yourself. The Ministry of Commerce has a sterling reputation, and it is my duty to uphold it, no matter the cost.
I'm a sucker for a hard luck case, so you can probably guess what I'm thinking.
Your sense of compassion is commendable, especially in such difficult times. Please tell me that you will accept. Don't force me to beg on my knees where all can see. Only 3 packages, hardly a burden. With that being said, it is a dangerous time to travel outside the city, so be vigilant. That's correct. Just make the deliveries and collect payment. There's no need to report back. The money is yours to keep. Saving our reputation is payment enough for me. Ah, you have lifted a great weight from my shoulders. I thank you. Here are the packages. One is for Alikja Dalka, who you can find at a nearby growth farm. Another is for Firan Nostal, who is working on some repairs at Hamati Station. The last is for Lazim Balian, who can be found at the shrine to the north of the city. May the Great Serpent grant you swift and safe travels.
Serpent's Grace, are you a new volunteer? I was told you'd be coming yesterday. Or was it today? By Jinan. What day even is it? So you didn't send me that slate with the urgent tone and suspect grammar? Now I'm wondering who did. No matter. You're here, they are not. My name is Vasilis. I am a Herald's assistant. Or I was, until the cataclysm took out much of the city and half of the people with it. Now I'm part healer, caretaker, warrior. The list goes on and on. Much of the city is just gone, as well as much of our staff and facilities. So we've all been rushed into larger roles with inferior tools. We're stretched thin and wound tight. I feel like the skin on a balloon. I am hoping you can help let the air out. I would gladly take a fire over what's happened to our city. You don't need Jinan's sight to see things are bad. No. Bad is the wrong word. What happened here was tectonic. And while the wounded are being tended to, I'm most concerned with those in the city who haven't sought help. What we need is for people to check in on the elderly and the infirm. They lead more sedentary lives, which means they are more likely to be stuck in their homes in need of help, but having no way to get it. Oh, then it seems the Great Serpent has brought you here for a reason. I would like you to start with Regan Ueda. His home is not too far from here, near the Halls of Obedience. I need two things. One, see if he's okay, and two, make sure he's taking his medicine. Plus, it will be good for him to see a friendly face, to give his spirits a lift. Under normal circumstances? Yes. Under these circumstances, the concept of overworked doesn't exist. In Dazra, violence is a part of life, starting from the day we are asked to sacrifice our growths. So much of our service is dedicated to bloodshed, and I grew tired of it. I wanted to perform miracles of a different kind, but I don't know if I am capable of such things. I was on my way to the Scaled Citadel when I saw a bird in flight pass overhead. It inspired me to write a hymn, so I stopped in my tracks to reach for my slate. I had barely started typing when I noticed the ground spilling at the edge of my feet. I looked down, then up, to see a vast crater of nothing before me, and fell to my knees. I can say for certain I was there, at the very line between life and death. But I never witnessed the Vortex perform its terrible works of death and devastation. Somehow, that troubles me more. In the time since, I've wondered why I was spared, when so many were lost. Perhaps it is the will of the Great Serpent that I be here to help those in need. About that. So, I was on the fast track to be a herald, once upon a time. Emphasis on the was. Turns out I'm a bit squeamish when it comes to blood and viscera. So for now, if you're hurt, talk to Hantan Irara. She's far more qualified. That's not to say I won't be capable someday. It's my dream, after all, to become a herald. But one cannot serve the house without first carving the dagger. It's to help with his memory. It's a bit scattered already, and he has trouble remembering where he left things. I've heard stories that he's taken to hoarding. That doesn't sound good, but maybe it'll help him keep his mind busy. Just trying to think of the bright side, sort as that may be around here. He's long in the tooth and a tad absent-minded. So, don't worry about distracting him. He'll do that all on his own.
Oh, it's you. Let me make one thing very clear. You will receive no preferential treatment. No free treatments, no free supplies. We barely have enough as it is. Good. Please understand, I have not been myself lately. You found me at a bad moment. The stress of everything is becoming overwhelming, but that is no excuse to act like I just did. I apologize. And I appreciate that. Now, may I help you with something? Deflated? But morale really has no place in the halls of healing. My healers are exhausted, frustrated, hungry, even scared. Yet they carry on. It is what is expected of us all. We suffer so others may survive. I had little choice in the matter, as everyone in my family has been in this profession. As soon as I came of working age, my father would set me beside him and have me aid his procedures. I am unsure. I think about that at times. Did I become a healer just to appease my father? Should I have pushed back and traveled another path in life? Well, I must stop ruminating. This type of talk is inappropriate around patients. Exhausted, drained, hopeless. I am not sure what brought this disaster upon us, whether it was the Great Serpent's wrath, or a horrible accident, or something else. But what I do know is that these people who are suffering, they did not deserve any of this. I do not believe your optimism is warranted, frankly, but I will admit it is a nice change of pace. I hope you are right. But for now, it is hard for me to believe that we will ever crawl out of this hole.
I'm sorry, but this wing of the hospital is under investigation. You'll have to leave. Even with the cataclysm, this is highly irregular. But not surprising. Kisrani is obsessed with transparency and often seeks independent help. I find this tendency unwise.
And by unwise, he means a complete disregard for operational security, rules, and regulations.
Possibly. And yet, despite what I said, and unsaid, she persists in doing so. So, we must come to a compromise.
A good compromise leaves everyone unhappy. This one was particularly miserable.
I will give you the keycard to Ukaru's computer. You will be able to access documents and correspondence for the past month. Any further access will require admin privileges, which I am not willing to grant. I apologize, but you were only given access to view the computer's records. Admin privileges are restricted to House officials only. Good point. I suppose our backlog would only worsen if that were the case. The cataclysm has made things difficult. I suppose, given all that's happened, exceptions must be made. You'll be granted temporary admin privileges to Ukaru's computer. That should be enough for you to do your investigation. Several. The halls of healing are extremely busy. We can't keep track of every individual that passes through. In particular, the patients. We had to usher one out of here just now, who claimed to have a crippling headache.
Given the patient himself was a headache, it's likely genetic.
The admin privileges I've granted you will allow you to view the access logs, however, that track the last users to sign in. It is highly unusual for anyone to display such disobedience, especially now. Such actions are tantamount to heresy. Loss of employment is the most likely outcome.
A beheading isn't off the table.
It would be done humanely, of course. Ukaru hasn't logged into his station for some time. I've had to process several write-ups documenting his absence.
Dereliction of duty, failure to serve, fireable offenses all around.
We've also had to shift resources and people to make up for his absence. Suffice to say, it has made navigating this current situation more difficult. Unfortunately, rather than use the proper channels, he chose to start his own investigation.
A very unfortunate choice.
I will not pretend to know the particulars of this case. I will say this. We are House Dul Kef. We have a reputation. We are professional. We are exacting.
We don't make mistakes.
Precisely.
Hi! No? That's the point of the game, right? Really, I'm glad you found me, because it would have been embarrassing for you if you didn't. You know, since all of the best hiding spots got eaten by the Great Serpent. No? The Great Serpent will help us. Yeah, there's no reason to be scared when we know he'll help us. I hope he helps us soon, though. I miss my old hiding spots. Yeah, I mean, what else could do that? Mother and Father say that this is proof that the Great Serpent is real. This is so much more fun than just playing with Mila and Alana. But, don't tell them I said that. Bye!
Aha! It's you! Welcome, welcome. If you're looking to stave off hunger, you will find no better place. We serve high-quality growth, freshly slaughtered. This seems like your kind of place. Aha, yes, friend. This is the place. Now, just enjoy yourself. If you need something, holler. And I do mean holler. How long has it been? Maybe 45 years. Oh, it is painful to say that. I remember the day my younger brother and I began our first shift in the slaughterhouse. He barely knew how to handle a knife. Some years later, though, he was practically running the place. He passed some time ago. But the meat house still holds so many wonderful memories of him. I am so thankful that the Great Serpent saw fit to spare this place. How do I feel about it? Not good. Not good. But I am holding on, though. There is no point in becoming bogged down by fear. I also feel strangely honored in a way that I am able to serve the people of Dazra in this time of need. To offer them food and allow them to, if, well, only for a moment, escape to a simpler, safer time. What an honor that is, truly. Our food supply, we are holding on. The growth farmers have been working tirelessly to make sure there are no major disruptions. I am unsure how long that can realistically continue, but I trust in the Great Serpent.
Welcome to the Alteration Clinic, where you can change your look to change your life. I am not allowed to call it that, but where you are from, that is what you would call a shop like mine. Even those in Dazra are surprised. The shop was set up by my father not so long ago, after he came to acquire the machine. The Alteration Clinic is still a novelty to a lot of people here. I must admit, I am excited that you've stopped by. Maybe a customer from the settled systems can add an air of legitimacy to my little operation here. No need to worry. It is perfectly safe, I assure you. I keep the machine in good working order myself. And my training is as good as any enhanced practitioner in the settled systems. My father and I spent hours scouring the machine's instruction manual. Well, it was not a legal transaction. Look, this is my shop. I do not have to answer these questions. This is a completely legitimate operation, and I do not condone my father's actions. Enough to keep the machine running, but business has never been lucrative.
Go on now, get out of here. Thought you'd catch me unaware, did you? Thought I'd be easy prey? Unless you want a hole in the middle of your chest, you'd better turn around and start walking. I suppose you could have put a bullet in the back of my head easy enough. There's no end of trouble out here lately. We've got pirates and spacers circling like vultures looking for easy pickings. And that's to say nothing of those fanatics. Has the Great Serpent abandoned us? I don't know. Perhaps. Because the only thing that annoys me less than pestering strangers is my work. Machines and structures don't waste my time with stupid questions. I know the courier well, and you are not him. Tell me the name of the person who sent you, and prove that you are not a liar. Fine, so you're telling the truth. I won't apologize for my manner. Trust does not come easily for me in these dark days. That, and the constant pain in my back makes me poor company. I know. I fix machines because they don't try to start a conversation. I prefer the quiet. But now, at last, my medicine has arrived. The Serpent knows I've gone too long without it. No doubt he hears my loud swearing when I struggle to get out of my bed every morning. I needed it many days ago. But that is not your fault. Take your credits and leave me in peace. Talking just makes me more irritable. And before you ask, yes, such a thing is possible.
Hello. Welcome to Hamadi Station. I do hope you're here about the research assistant opening. We haven't had many promising applicants.
By which he means we haven't had any applicants.
Well, yes. Thank you for the painful reminder. Oh, love of my life. I'm Azad Dubas. My wife Shireen and I are scientists. We've been quite busy lately and are greatly in need of some help. We put out a call for a research assistant, but with recent events, we haven't had much luck.
By which he means we haven't had any luck.
So, are you interested in a little field work? Gathering data, mostly. Nothing too strenuous, I assure you. Ah, so you've some experience then. The Great Serpent has truly blessed us. My wife and I have been studying a recent and somewhat troubling phenomenon. You see, the local wildlife has been dying, and we're not sure why. The remains show no signs of external injury or trauma, so we can rule out most of the usual causes.
Fighting for dominance or territory, predators, hunters looking for sport, those sorts of things.
We began to see this phenomenon just after the accident in Dazra. We're convinced these events are linked, but the exact nature of the connection remains a mystery. Not yet, but we'll be running those tests soon. Unfortunately, we only have a few samples to work with. I'm not sure we'll be able to paint a complete picture. Well, no, not yet. However, I'm confident that the process will prove the hypothesis to be correct. We don't know that they aren't. For all we know, the same thing is happening to people right now, just more slowly. All the more reason to work with a sense of urgency. An accurate assertion. This is where you come in. I need you to search for corpses of local wildlife and collect tissue samples. I'll give you a biosample collector that will extract and store the samples safely. Try to collect samples from different kinds of creatures. We want to cast a wide net. Return here when you've got them, and we'll begin the analysis. You're looking for creatures without an obvious cause of death. There should be no wounds, no blood, no sign of physical trauma. What we are searching for is an invisible killer. Off you go then, and no dragging your feet. You're on the clock as of now.
What a delightful question. I'm so glad you asked. You see, it's something of a point of pride. It was my mother who designed the layout for Hamadi Station. She was a gifted architect, as well as a botanist, and yet still found the time to be a wonderful mother. She married an engineer, and they built this place together. Hamadi was my father's family name. In many ways, I suppose my parents were my heroes as a child. By the grace of the Serpent, we were spared. Even so, my dreams have been filled with darkness and dread every night. I believe the Great Serpent is testing us, and we must rise to the challenge. We must be strong and resourceful and prove our devotion beyond all doubt. Only then will we prove ourselves worthy.
Remember, you're looking for animal corpses with no obvious signs of injury or mutilation. When my wife and I first moved out here, it was for practical reasons. It allowed us to observe the plants and creatures we study in their natural habitat. Having said that, I've grown very fond of the peace, quiet, and solitude that we enjoy here. I don't think I could return to the city now. I'm sure I'd find it too noisy and distracting. I suppose, in some ways, it's much the same as in other cultures. We seek a greater understanding of our world through observation and reason. We do this work in service to the people, that all may benefit. Well, for me, they do not. No. Some doubt the value of our work, and others consider science to be nearly a cousin to heresy. I suppose there are many perspectives regarding the coexistence of faith and science. What about you? Do you believe that faith and science sit in contradiction to one another? Science has opened our eyes to vital discoveries. Consider medicine and exploration, for example. And yet I think faith has great value as well. Faith provides moral guidance, traditions that bind society together, and hope in dark times. Without it, I think we would be a lost and soulless people. Ecological studies, mainly. Shireen's field of expertise is botany, and mine is biology. We keep an eye on the flora and fauna, the health of which are vital to the local settlements. The people, the creatures, and the land exist in symbiosis, as the Great Serpent intended.
Hello there. I don't know your face. Are you lost? Well, I know you don't work here. You also haven't attacked me, so being lost is the most sensible reason for your presence here. A growth farm isn't exactly the kind of place people seek out for a leisurely visit. I can think of only one reason the Ministry of Commerce would send someone here. You must be the new courier. I know that Lijana has been desperate to find a replacement. It's very sad what happened to the previous courier. His name was Shamid. He was a radiant soul, full of life and joy and dreams. All of it stolen away in the blink of an eye to hear it told. Yes, I was. After making a delivery, he often stayed for a bowl of stew and tell me the news of the city. He would always have a new joke that he'd share. He had a gift for humor and telling stories. Sometimes, I would laugh so much that my sides would ache for hours. I will miss him. Oh, good. It's definitely the right package then. I spent a small fortune on these spices. They're some of the rarest we have, as well as the most pungent. Cooking is my great joy, and the proper use of seasonings is the most important part. Thank you for this. I will. Now here's your payment. Travel safely, courier.